Lacey, Washington is one of the fastest growing cities in all of Washington. And there's some good reasons for that. One of them is going to be affordability of houses. One of them is going to be its convenient location. Another one's going to be all of its access to outdoor activities. So if those are things you're into, you're going to be right along with the other people that love this city.
However, we know that even the best cities have some things that maybe could be considered cons. So we're going to share with you all the pros and cons of living here in Lacey. We're Joe and Charity. We are local realtors, and we help people just like you every week who are considering moving to the Pacific Northwest. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's
do
do
this.
it.
The first real pro of Lacey is its convenient location. About 60 miles to Seattle, 115 miles to Portland, so an hour one way, 2 hours the other. So it's ideally located to get access to some bigger urban areas if that's important to you. In that strategic location, a little pun there, it is also close to our military base, JBLM. So we do have a lot of our military families that love it for that convenient location, as well as access to the freeway, either way that you're going to be commuting if your job so requires.
Another thing that's very convenient about Lacey is because you are so close to the freeway, you jump right on and get to SeaTac Airport in a little over an hour, depending on traffic. We always plan to go when it's not high traffic time, but a little over an hour is great for where you're at and everything else that you get here in the city of Lacey.
Yeah, for sure. Even though Lacey is ideally located, you might find yourself a little limited living there.
And the reason for that is because there's no downtown area here. Lacey is more like a suburban feel where you don't have an old-fashioned downtown or a new-fashioned downtown. You're gonna have to go to Olympia to get that. Or you could go even farther and get some downtown area in Tacoma, which would be the next closest thing.
What we mean by that is Lacey doesn't have like a lot of art museums, and they don't have a theater district, and they don't have maybe a lot of nightlife that you'd be accustomed to or wanting that in your next city. So I want you to be aware of that for sure.
Also, you're gonna find, because it's more of a suburban feel, you're gonna find that most of the stores are more box type stores. So you got your Costco, Joe's always excited about. You got your Walmart, you got all of those, but not as many smaller boutiques that you would find in like a downtown quaint area. Yeah. But of course, Olympia is really close. You're only about 10 minutes to downtown Olympia, so you don't have to suffer for too long. You can get right over there and experience that kind of living as well.
The great thing is what you give up in a nightlife, you gain in outdoor space. What I mean by that is we have one park for every 2,000 people. That is a lot of parks. There are literally 29 parks in the Lacey area for you to enjoy. Matter of fact, 20% of Lacey's space is designated towards outdoor and recreational space. That's a lot of land, y'all. That is some big places for you to go get lost and have fun.
Yeah, in fact, we're standing in a park right now that's in the Midtown area. This is Huntimer Park, and this is the location where they have all kinds of events happening throughout the year. And we've got parks with lakes, and we've got parks with trails, and we've got really great parks for outdoor sports and activities for kids and adults, and pickleball courts and tennis courts. There is so much outdoor space for things to do here.
Not just that, you really are close to Olympia, so they have all of Olympia's resources and parks, as well as just on the other side of the military base, you have Tacoma. So you are surrounded by the outdoors if that's important to you.
And then, of course, the conveniently located part comes back to this with outdoor spaces because you're really close to Mount Rainier, you're close to the ocean beaches, you're close to the national rainforest, you're close to Mount St. Helens, you're close to so many outdoor spaces that if you are moving to Washington because that's ideal, then this is really going to be a perfect spot for you.
Now, with all of those outdoor activities to do, you're going to be outside. And that leads us to kind of one of the cons of the Northwest, and you've probably heard it before, and that is the weather.
The weather. So the weather can be a challenge, and it just depends really on how you think about it.
Yes.
It can be a pro or it can be a con. Some people actually love the mild weather that we have here. In fact, they move here particularly for that. Others, they have to adjust
to
the lack of sun. Today it was sunny earlier, but now it's cloudy, and we have quite a lot of gray days even when it's not raining.
Yes. And if you are like me and you're follically challenged, what you'll want to do is to get a lot of hats, because that is my saving grace in all of these areas, is to wear hats.
That is true. Lacey gets 49 inches of rain, so compare that to where you live and you'll be able to judge how much you're going to need to adjust to the weather.
And you might just have a lot of hats. That's all I'm saying.
And a lot of sweatshirts and a lot of coats. I know we've mentioned this before, but you do have multiple coats. You have spring layer coats, you have winter coats, you have between winter and spring coats. You have, I have a lot of coats, more than he does, but he has a lot of coats too.
That is true.
And then besides the weather, you have to know that it does get really dark here in the winter. We are up in the north.
Yep.
So it is dark around 4:30 in the winter, and it doesn't get light until about 8 a.m. However, it starts to get light. In fact, it's just the beginning of April, and we already have light until 8 o'clock.
Yep. And then that, by the time we peak in midsummer-ish, is going to be around 10 o'clock when it starts to get dark. So, you know, you give it up in the winter, but then you just party crazy all summer long on the outdoor summer days.
And then when you have those really sunny days and it's not rainy, you have the longest days possible. You know, it's fun. It's raining when it's dark. You can do cozy stuff.
All sights.
But in the summer, you're out. You can be out till 10 o'clock naked, which is awesome.
It really is. Actually, it's really awesome.
One of the things we love about this area.
Yeah. Now, the next pro, which I absolutely love about Lacey, it's affordability. What I mean by that is the housing costs are literally half the price of Seattle, and they're cheaper than Olympia. So it's about $540,000 for a single family home. In Seattle, that's $1 million. And in Olympia, that's well over $600,000, kind of in that $620 to $640 range. So you can see that it is a good value, and that's a big important thing because your money goes further.
Yeah, and for that house, you're probably wondering, well, what do I get for that price?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to get like a standard 3 to 4 bedroom home, around 2,000 square feet, potentially a newer home.
Yep.
So it's a house that most people are looking for in that price range. Of course, if you need something a little bit less, there's also homes that are priced below that. In fact, you can find a home that's around $400,000 to $500,000. Older, of course, and may need a little bit of updates, but some houses in that price range have been updated quite well. You might just be giving up a little bit of square footage, but definitely doable for those prices.
Yeah. And then also in that price range, we're going to want to know some of those older homes that we're talking about are on larger lots. And so you have a little bit of extra space. So if you want a little bit bigger backyard, maybe you got a puppy dog, somebody running around in the backyard, whatever it might be, you're going to have some options for that, which is really fantastic.
Yeah. And of course, if you want to spend more than that, we can always help you with that.
That's right.
We've got great houses on golf courses that are upper towards the millions. We've got waterfront houses that are on lakes that are around that price range too. And then just some of the newer, bigger developments. So you do have options in all of those price ranges. So affordability in housing is obviously a pro, but let's give you a con related to housing as well.
Yep. That has to do with HOAs. Most of the new communities, and I would say most, like 99% plus, are HOA communities. And for some people, they love it. That means all the neighbors have to abide by the neighbor HOA rules. And so usually it's clean yard. Sometimes the HOA is going to cover like some of the front yard maintenance, but not always. But it is something to be aware of because in those new communities, that's what you get. Now, the range of those prices on affordability, some of them on the very inexpensive side are around $30 a month, well over $100 to $200, depending on which community. And some of the 55 plus communities, that could be $300 to $400. So just be aware of that because that does impact affordability.
And it also affects what you can do on your property. So if you have an RV, you might not be able to park it there, or a boat. Also, I do know some very strict HOAs that actually say in their HOA notes how tall your grass needs to be. 1.5 inches, by the way, in case you're wondering. But there are some strict rules. So when you are looking for a house, you definitely want to read through the HOA rules if you don't want to have that many restrictions.
If you're going out there with the tape measure in my front yard, bless your heart. I don't even know what to do with that, but okay, I got you. You be you. I'm not judging. Okay, a little bit, just a little bit. That's how that works.
But really, it's not all of the areas, like Joe was saying. It's just the newer construction areas, and there are a lot of areas in Lacey that don't have HOAs, or they're so old, the HOAs really don't do anything anymore.
One of the great things about all of this growth and development with those new communities and some with those HOAs is the economic development. And Lacey's got a lot going on.
In fact, Lacey is known to be the most business-friendly city in all of Thurston County.
Yeah, they want your business and they want to help get behind what you're about. So if you're considering relocating here, maybe relocating your business, you're probably going to find some open arms in the Lacey community. So you want to reach out to them in the business development because options are going to be there for you. The permit process is a little bit easier compared to its cities next door, i.e. Olympia, between you and me and the fence post. A little bit easier to get things, a little bit faster process to get things done. So those are all good things.
Yeah, you're going to find welcome open arms if you're planning on moving your business here. It is a really great place. And you will notice that because when you drive around in Olympia, you're going to notice a lot less construction as you do in Lacey. And they've got some cool things going on. In fact, one of our favorite things that they've recently put in the area is 23 kitchens.
23 kitchens. I don't know if you've heard of a game called pickleball. Apparently it's popular. Probably have. And there is 22 courts of pickleball. And there's pickleball courts in all the parks that we mentioned earlier. A lot of activities for you to do in Lacey to get out there and outdoors. But man, pro business is a big one.
Yeah. And what's really great about the way that Lacey approaches it is it's not just a mess of stuff going on. They plan it really well. It's very beautiful. Everything's been beautified. And it's a positive addition to any area that new construction and new business development is going into the Lacey area.
And I think that's good to note because depending on where you're from, you could be thinking, man, when a bunch of development went in, they just cut it all down and it looks terrible and then they rebuilt it with concrete. That's not how it is here. This Northwest carries the vibe of outdoor beauty, and Lacey holds true to that. Even with the new development, they really do focus on making sure it's beautiful. Now, with all this development and new construction, you wonder, can Lacey keep up with all of this? It's a good question.
Yeah, and that leads us to our next con is the infrastructure of Lacey and if it's going to be able to keep up. And I guess we're going to have to say we're going to turn this into a pro at the same time because Lacey is doing a great job. They are very aware that they need to keep up with this. In fact, they're redoing their 20-year plan right now, taking in comments from all the residents so that they can create a comprehensive plan that works well for everyone. There are some things in the works right now, like
the police station. They're building a new 48,000 square foot police station, which is fantastic because we really support our police officers, men and women who serve. Thank you very much.
And there are also quite a few road extensions happening and road enlargements happening, which of course, if there's more people, you need more roads. So widening roads, extending them, making them better for all of the people who live here. So they are working hard at keeping up with that infrastructure. And I think you will find if you move here that you'll see that that's going on all the time here.
And of course, they're always making new roundabouts. So if you're a roundabouter, got you covered in a plethora of ways.
But yes, in fact, on our way here today, we said this spot needs roundabout. We need to get Lacey on that. Oh, we've discussed some great pros and cons of the Lacey area. But even with all this information, you may still be thinking, but how will Lacey feel for my family? Whether it's you and your dog, you and your kids, you and your best friend, whatever family you have, what's it going to feel like to live here as a family? Or however you define family, Lacey offers a combination of factors that creates an exceptionally supportive environment.
Now, most people want to know about crime rates, and you'll be happy to know that is actually below the national average, especially in violent crime. So that's a good thing. You can feel safe when you live here, and you should.
That's right. And if you are a family with kids, then you're going to want to know that North Thurston School District is exceptional. When you look up their ratings online, you're going to see that they go from solid to excellent. And of course, if you need more information, you can always reach out to the schools themselves and ask them to tell you a little bit more about what makes their school special. If you are in the military community and you're considering moving to Lacey, just know that the school districts are very supportive to military children. They're used to families that are moving in and out of the area because this is one of the primary areas that military families want to move into. So just know that you're going to have support there as well.
Of course, you might be into sports, and it's good to know that they have the Regional Athletic Center, the RAC, which has soccer, softball, baseball, men's softball leagues, all kinds of things. So lots of great recreational activities there and community events actually all year long, which is really fantastic.
Besides the opportunity to get outside and play with your family, you're going to find that there's all kinds of community activities. I mentioned earlier, right here in Hunter Park, there's barbecue festival, there's Christmas lights on display, there are concerts all summer long, and that's just in this location. Right across the street, we have the Lacey Spring Fair. There's all kinds of things that Lacey does to make sure that people can connect with the community and really feel like this is their home.
Now, whether you're moving here with your family, with your kids, with your dog, with your cat, however you call family, you're probably going to wonder, well, what am I going to live in? What can I expect to maybe get? Well, let's dive into that.
Okay, so like we mentioned a little bit earlier, we've got a couple different areas of Lacey. We've got the Hawks Prairie and Meridian Campus area, which is pretty much all since 2000. Yep. There are some outlying areas that have houses that have been there for a while, but that's going to be HOA style neighborhoods. And then we're going to be in the Midtown area, which is where we're at now. And those were built somewhere between like the 60s to the 90s with pockets of newer construction in there. And then you're going to have South Lacey, and South Lacey is also a little bit of the older, but then a lot more newer homes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in each one of these areas, like Midtown is going to be your most affordable. Hawks Prairie is going to have a wide variety of what you could get from the mid 500s to over $1 million. And then, of course, we talked about some of the areas that have views of the water or waterfront property, which is going to go up from there. So it really depends on what you're looking for. You should be able to find it and get a good value on it compared to other cities of the same size with the amenities that it has.
And in all of those locations, you're going to have the convenience of shopping and everything that you want. In the Meridian Campus in the Hawks Prairie area, you're going to have your Home Depot, your Walmart, your Costco, and all of those things. The Midtown area, you've got Fred Meyer and Target. South Lacey, you're not going to have as many as the bigger shopping areas, but you are going to have grocery stores and, of course, all the other things that you need, and you're not very far away. If you look on a map, you're going to see that Lacey is not a very big city, and so you can get to all the places that you want to go very easily. So if you are considering moving to Lacey or any other area in the Pacific Northwest, of course, we would love to help you. We've made it really easy, so just reach out on that number below, either call us or text us. We'd love to get on the line with you and see how we can help you make that best next decision for you and your family. And if you enjoyed this video, then keep watching, because the next one is going to take you on a driving tour of all of the areas of Lacey that we just mentioned today.